Hey everybody, this is just a quick little video lesson on factoring out a GCF. So the acronym GCF stands for Greatest Common Factor. So each of these three words have a meaning. Greatest means it is the biggest. So don't take out a 2 if you can take out a 4. Don't take out a 5 if you can take out a 10. You want it to be the biggest thing possible. Common means it has to be into every term. And factor means that we're taking it out from division. We're taking it out using division. So first example, I have two terms here. So I want to think about 27. That's 3 times 3 times 3. Y squared is y times y. 18 is 3 times 6, so that's 3 times 3 times 2, and then there's only one y. So I'm looking at what is the greatest and what is common. So I can pull out a 9 and a y out of each of them. So I'm going to pull out a 9y. Now I have to think about division. If I take 9y out of 27y squared, what's left? What's 27 divided by 9? 3. What's y squared divided by y? Y plus. What's left down here? Well, I took out the y, so only a 2. Now, how do I know if I'm right? Distributive property. 9y times 3y, 27y squared. 9y times 2, 18y. Oh my goodness, that's exactly what we started with. Okay, so it gets more complicated, of course. Let's throw in some negatives. Let's throw in 2 variables. Let's make it 3 terms. So if I look at my numbers, -4, 8, and 2. So -4 would be -2 times 2. A squared b would be a squared b. -8 would be -2 times 2 times 2. AB squared would be ab squared. 2ab is just 2ab. So what's common? A 2, an a b. So if I bring out that 2ab, what am I left with? -2a, -4b, nothing. But remember, I said this was division. Something divided by itself is 1. So I need that 1 there. It's not 0. It's not 0. You are dividing. Now remember, this is my answer, so if I want to distribute this back in, I should be able to multiply and get the same thing. Well, how am I going to get 2ab if I multiply 2ab times 1, not times 0? An alternate form of this is you can actually factor out the negative as well. Instead of saying that this is 2ab, you could make this a negative and you could make that a negative. And those two negatives would multiply together to be a positive. So you really could take out a -2 instead, and all your signs would just change. So you could factor out a -2ab, and you would be left with +2a, +4b, and a -1. It's either way, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so why don't you pause the video, and you could try some of these. It's not necessary to actually, write out all the factors and circle them. You can kind of just think of reverse distribution. So what is the biggest number that goes into 64 and 40 both? 8. So if I factor out an 8, 64 divided by 8 is 8. 40 divided by 8 is 5. I can't bring out any variables because they're not common. Is there anything else that 8 and 5 share? No. So I'm done. I can always distribute this back in, get what I started with. What's common between 6 and 3? A 3. What's common between r squared and r and t squared? 1r and 1t. If I factor this out, 6 divided by 3 is 2. I took out the t, but an r is left. If I factor a 3 out of a 3, I'm left with 1. I had rt squared. I take out an r and a t, I'm left with t. So minus 1t, or you can just put minus t. What's common in 15 and 30? A 15, of course. AD and a squared, d squared, just an a and a d. I took out everything, so 1 is left. 30 divided by 15 is 2. A squared divided by a is a, and d squared divided by d is just d. Again, you can always multiply this back through and do your distributive property, and you should get exactly what you started with. What's common between 36 and 48? 6. What's common between y squared and x squared y? An x and a y. 36 divided by 6 is 6. I took out the x. I have 2 y's. I took 1 out, so 1 is left. 48 divided by 6 is 8. I took one of the x's out, so 1 is left. I took the y out. There's no y's left. So I actually did this one wrong for you, because look at what I'm left with. Is there anything else common between 6 and 8? Absolutely, a 2. So instead of taking out a 6, I actually want to take out a 12, because it's bigger. It's the greatest common factor. So it's okay if you do part of it and then you're like, that wasn't all of it. You keep going, you can try again. 36 divided by 12 is 3. I still took out the x, I still have a y left, and 48 divided by 12 is 4. I have 1 x left, I took out the y. See, 4 and 3, nothing common anymore. 30 and 35, the greatest common factor between those is 5. I have x cubed y and x squared y squared z. I can take out an x squared and a y. What am I left with? 30 divided by 5 is 6. I took out 2 x's, I had 3, and I took out the y. 35 divided by 5 is 7. I took out both x's. I took out one of the y's, so 1 is left, and then there's also a z. If it's not common, you can't take it out. In a trinomial, 3 terms, so 9, 6, and 3, what do they share? A 3. All of them have an a, and that's it. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. I'm left with a squared, d squared. 6 divided by 3 is 2. I took out the a. I'm left with the 3 d's. And then 3a, take out 3a. I'm left with 1.